This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Tonight on The South Today, a shopper at Dunedin's Central Countdown is lucky to be alive after a large concrete pole lands on the car next to her. Ngāi Tahu and the Crown have signed an historic aquaculture development agreement. And some Queenstown teens have the opportunity to conquer their fear of heights at a local bungee site. Tēnā koutou katoa, ngā mihi o te ahiahi nei, kia ora, I'm Simon Anderson. A Dunedin shopper is lucky to be alive after a pole fell on her car as she was putting groceries in the back seat.
Witnesses say a woman who was loading her shopping into this Volkswagen Passat station wagon narrowly missed being hit by this light pole, which has partially crushed her car. Senior Sergeant Ian Paulin of Dunedin Police says the driver of this Hyundai SUV had a minor medical event, causing her vehicle to hit the concrete pole, sending it crashing onto the station wagon opposite. The incident was attended by Fire and Emergency NZ, Police and St John. Senior Sergeant Paulin says the driver of the Volkswagen was a bit shaken up and was being looked after by Countdown staff. Police say all occupants of the vehicles are uninjured and both vehicles were insured. In Dunedin, The South Today.
The Clutha District Council is planning to hold a job fair in Milton next Tuesday. The event is a continuation of employment expos hosted around the region by the council, which are called Job Opportunities Fairs. Next week's initiative hopes to attract potential employees from towns further north, such as Mosgiel and Dunedin. 22 employers will be available at the Milton Coronation Hall on Tuesday night, including the new Countdown supermarket in Balclutha. Job Opportunities says it's helped 130 people find jobs or apprenticeships since it started last year. Ngāi Tahu has welcomed the signing of a Southland aquaculture agreement with the government. The historic agreement comes after 7 years of hard mahi.
Representatives of Hokanui, Waihopai, Awarua and Oraka Aparima Papatipu Runaka, along with Te Ohu Kaimoana Chief Executive Lisa Te Hiuhiu and Conservation Minister Kiritapu Allen, signing an historic agreement providing for marine farming off the coast of Rakiura, Stewart Island. Minister Allen calling it history in the making.
Yeah, look, this is a really important day for Southland as a region, for the Crown and for Ngāi Tahu. This agreement is the product of 7 years of work, 7 years of negotiation, resulting in this particular area which will be set aside for aquaculture development purposes. 16.6 hectares plus just over $1 million will be injected into this region. So the total value of the package is just under $4 million there. So in terms of one, honouring the aquaculture settlement and agreement, this is a significant output.
Ngāi Tahu has been advocating for its rights in the marine aquaculture sector since the 1992 fisheries settlement. The Māori Commercial Aquaculture Claims Settlement Act was introduced in 2004, and the government has been settling claims ever since. MPI Director of Aquaculture at Fisheries New Zealand, Matt Bartholomew, says this is a key part of a series of agreements with iwi across Aotearoa.
The aquaculture settlement's a sort of a fundamental start for aquaculture for most iwi, but it's only the start. The outcomes come when we take those settlement assets and we can deliver on the aspirations for Ngāi Tahu and for the other iwi around the country that have aquaculture settlements to be a core part of the sector on their own terms and with their own aspirations at the heart of it.
Te Ohu Kaimoana works to advance Māori interests in the marine environment, including customary fisheries, commercial fisheries and aquaculture, as well as providing policy and fisheries management to advise iwi and the wider Māori community. Te Tai Tonga MP Reno Terekatne says settlements like this will benefit the Murihiku Rohi.
It's great to be able to fulfil our obligations as the Crown in relation to the aquaculture settlement for iwi, and in this case the Ngāi Tahu here in the southern region. It's a culmination of many years of very hard work, but working closely to identify and find the suitable area, and then also to be able to work with all of the finer details in terms of the establishment of the space. And so again, it's as the Te Tai Tonga MP also, it's great to be able to support future economic development for the Murihiku region.
The Southland Agreement had been under discussion for 7 years and provides Ngāi Tahu marine space to develop aquaculture in a 16.6 hectare area. The iwi will still need to apply for resource consent for any marine farming activity. In Bluff, the South Today.
Harness Racing New Zealand says it's received about 300 public submissions on what should happen to Needham's former racing venue, Forbury Park. The feedback will be considered during negotiations about the St Kilda site and the potential selection of a buyer. Options for the 12-hectare site include housing, water detention areas and using the area to increase a nearby school's playing fields. 40 people attended last month's community drop-in sessions. Youngsters got the chance to face their fears and learn about stress at a bungee jump session recently. The free jumps were provided to the first-year high school pupils as part of a new program offered by AJ Hackett.
AJ Hackett, the company that first introduced bungee jumping as a tourist venture, is offering youngsters who are in their first year of high school a chance to learn about stress.
In school they've been learning about resilience and coping with stress, and they've been given some techniques to cope with that, such as breathing exercises. And now they're coming to apply it in the real world, coming to do a bungee jump, the extreme end of dealing with stress.
After a few false starts, Anika Takamoana from Cromwell High School was one of the pupils who completed a bungee jump off the old wooden Kawarau Bridge.
The first time I kind of freaked out and didn't really get out of the thing, and then I kind of went and watched a few more jumps. Went back out again, kind of freaked out again, went back in. Then I went out, kind of stopped thinking and just jumped, and I'm glad I did.
As part of their class, the pupils have been wearing heart rate monitors to better understand how stress affects the human body.
So these guys are 13, 14-year-olds, and we're using what's called human biofeedback. So they've got heart rate monitors on, sounds fancy, but it's a really simple heart rate monitor on their arms, and they're using them while they go and do a walk during the day and as well as jumping off the bridge. And they'll be able to look and see, when they watch their video of they're doing their bungee, see their heart rate and how it changes when they're standing on the edge of a 43-metre high bridge.
One of the lessons from the course was that doing your best, no matter the outcome, is an important goal.
It doesn't matter if you didn't do it the first time or the second or the third. As long as you tried your best, it doesn't matter. That's kind of what we learned.
AJ Hackett provided the jumps to the school for free, with hopes of expanding the program to other schools across New Zealand. In Queenstown, the South Today.
Still to come on the South Today, an Invercargill building is set for an upgrade, and we remember the Lake Oho fire 1 year on. Ka kite ako nei.
How's it going at my mate John's? So far, so good. So far, so good. He's having a lounge suite sale. Comedy was never John's thing. Luckily, furniture is. And this weekend, he's taken 15 to 50% off all lounge, from beanbags to electric recliners. John's got it in stock, ready to go. So far, so good. Only at John's Furniture Warehouse.
Furniture from Stafford Street. And my mate John. Every reason, every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
If you're risk of developing melanoma skin cancer, you owe it to yourself to have a mole map. Mole Map is coming to your area. Phone today to make an appointment. It could save your life.
A poorly maintained heat pump can lose up to 35% of its output. The Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner team are experts. Their specially developed chemical wash is totally biodegradable. Call Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner and get the job done by the professionals.
Mainor, welcome back. Strengthening work on Invercargill's Anderson House will finally start next month. The historic building has been closed since 2014 due to earthquake concerns. A year ago, councillors made a unanimous decision to immediately undertake remedial maintenance, seismic strengthening and fire and access improvements in the house. But during the long-term plan deliberations in May, Council staff said there may not have been the capacity to complete the work this year. The Council has now allayed those concerns and it has confirmed the earthquake strengthening work will begin next month. A year ago this week, a fire swept through the settlement of Lake Oho, laying waste to many homes in its path. One of the first firefighters to reach the scene recalls the events of the day.
One of the first firefighters at the scene of the Lake Oho fire at this time last year recalls what it was like.
I was on the first appliance to go from Twizel, along with a couple others, Nick and Kerry, and we were seconds behind Amarama arriving there. We were the first Twizel appliance.
Logan Cunningham says he was supposed to be going out for an anniversary dinner with his partner, but knew that would have to change.
Go kiss goodbye, get out, and we get down the road, and it's like, holy moly.
He says their first priority, as always, is making sure there are no people in danger and getting them to safety before tackling the fire. Despite many hours training, Cunningham says nothing really prepares you for seeing a massive fire fanned by high winds with lots of dry vegetation in its way.
Yeah, it's hard to describe that. It's it was a very surreal moment, really. Just the wind, and it was just feeding the fire, with all the fuel and dry fuel and whatnot around. It was pretty hectic place to be, that's for sure.
As the fire swept into the town in the early hours of the morning, all of the township's residents got out. However, dozens of properties were consumed by fire. Hugh Spears was amongst those who lost everything in the fire, but a year on has an optimistic outlook.
We were woken with a phone call. Well, we weren't woken. We hadn't really slept very much that night. The wind was horrific, and the noise and just so we were dozing. But we were really awakened by at 3 o'clock with a phone call on the landline. There was no cell phone reception that night to say that there was a fire in the village, and we really need to get out now because it was coming our way. So, looking back on it, even coming up 12 months ago, that's still a blur, but the vision of the fire coming over the hill and the fact that we couldn't get out it still haunts you, I guess you can say.
Spears says while some parts of the early morning of October 4th, 2020 are a blur, there are some aspects burned into his psyche.
There's still the vision of the fire, the heat, and the fact that there was no oxygen because the fire was just sucking every bit of oxygen out of the air, and our mouths were dry. It was a horrible sensation. yeah, it's just something that's going to haunt you forever, I think.
He says everyone around the village was always careful about fire. He was left wondering, why us? But says the wairua, or spirit of the place, remains strong.
There's no rhyme or reason. We'd all been very careful about fire. There was no vegetation around the house. It was a metal house, but it's all gone. The land was burnt that night, but the soul wasn't taken away.
In the months following the fire, the village is fighting back, with many homes being rebuilt and scores of volunteers planting trees to replace ones burned in the blaze.
We put out the word around the damage that had happened around us, and you can see it here with the beech trees, and we've had amazing response from people that have just been so generous and kind. So we've had around $27,000 worth of donations, just small, medium-sized donations, and then we had one really large donation from the Freemasons of $33,000.
Oahu Conservation Board Chairwoman Viv Smith-Campbell says with the generous donation of money and time from many people, they are giving nature a hand, fighting back after the fire. In Lake Oahu, the South Today.
After the break on the South Today, we get a meteorologist's take on last month's wet and windy weather, and I let you know what we have in store for the next few days. Hea koko akinei.
Every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
If you're at risk of developing melanoma skin cancer, you owe it to yourself to have a mole map. Mole map is coming to your area. Phone today to make an appointment. It could save your life.
How's it going at My Mate John's? So far, so good. He's having a lounge suite sale. And this weekend, he's taken 15 to 50% off all lounge, from beanbags to electric recliners.
My Mate John.
MTF Finance can help you turn the key on your next vehicle with a loan made just for you. TCs and lending criteria apply.
A poorly maintained heat pump can lose up to 35% of its output. The Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner team are experts. Their specially developed chemical wash is totally biodegradable. Call Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner and get the job done by the professionals.
Hoki mai anō. NIWA meteorologist Tristan Myers is saying the changeable weather we have been experiencing across the south is typical of spring. September was a patchwork of wet, dry, cold, warm, windy and calm weather for Otago and Southland. In the middle of last month, near record gusts in excess of 140 kilometres per hour were recorded, with this caravan being blown over on Dunedin's Mount Cargill Road. The month is described as being dominated by a westerly flow anomaly across most of the country, with several strong frontal systems and periods of wet and windy weather. Canterbury and Otago regions saw small buildings damaged, roads blocked by fallen trees, and almost 7,000 homes left without power. And now recapping tonight's top stories on the South Today. A shopper at Dunedin's Central Countdown is lucky to be alive after a large concrete pole landed on her car next to her. Ngāi Tahu and the Crown have signed an historic aquaculture development agreement. And some Queenstown teens had the opportunity to conquer their fear of heights at a local bungee site. Now for a look at what's happening in tomorrow's ODT, we welcome Associate Editor Joe Simpson. Kia ora,
Hi.
Joe.
How are you? Tomorrow we have a COVID coverage wrap on how Auckland is reacting to their new level 3. There's been a death of one person and how the virus has reached Cambridge. Wanaka could potentially experience a large and sudden housing shock over the next few years if the Silverlight Studios' $280 million film development goes ahead without on-site accommodation.
Right, thanks,
Thank you.
Joe.
Thanks.
And time now for a look at the weather.
Tonight's weather proudly brought to you by Mole Map.
Looking at today's southern view, a flock of seagulls above a shop. Looking at the situation, there's a few more days of warm northerly airflow lying ahead, but a cold, rainy period is lining up for early next week with possible snow inland. The rain's already in the north though. On the west coast, Westport reaches 15, Greymouth 16 degrees. Rain at the top of the island too, Nelson on 14, Blenheim 16. Things ease a little as we head down to Canterbury, just a chance of showers in Kaikoura on 17 degrees, and it's cloudy but should remain dry in Christchurch and Ashburton, a warm 18 and 20 degrees respectively. Looking at what's in store for the southern towns, the Catlins, Balclutha, Lumsden and Gore can all expect moderate northerlies with some cloud and highs of 17 or 18 degrees. Travelling westwards to the Central Lakes region, Wanaka and Queenstown can expect moderate northwesterlies with a risk of showers and a high of 17 degrees. Alexandra and Te Anau are in for moderate northwesterlies with some cloud and a high of 18. Looking at the northern towns along the coast, Timaru and Oamaru can expect moderate northeasterlies with some cloud and a high of 19 degrees. Slightly cooler and wetter inland with Twizel and Omarama in for moderate northwesterlies with a risk of showers and a high of 18 degrees. In Dunedin, cloudy tonight with northeasterlies and an overnight low of 10. Some of that cloud breaks tomorrow morning, revealing sun and northeasterly winds decrease for a fine day of 19 and 10. And it's fine again on Friday with long sunny periods, some high clouds and light northerly winds, a high of 18 and a low of 9 degrees. And in Invercargill, it's fine tonight with an overnight low of 9. Fine tomorrow too with high cloud and moderate northeasterly winds, a high of 17 and a low of 9 degrees. And similar on Friday, but even warmer, a high of 19 and a low of 9. And that's the news this Wednesday. For the latest news from the southern region, head online to odt.co.nz and you can follow Channel 39 on Facebook and YouTube. Like and subscribe to be notified of that southern news as it happens. Nō reira, kia pai te pō, ka kite anō.
This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.